In this video help, I'm going to be covering using the data grid and then using the buyer's order form. Now, the buyer's order form is the actual entry area we're going to use to calculate and identify all the information that we're going to be using to purchase the vehicle. I want to point out one other thing, just so you know, you cannot edit these fields, but you can go ahead and click on the bars up here and stretch or expand the screen area if you need to show. And you can do this with your finger. I'm just using the cursor right now, but you can expand it so that you can go ahead and open it up and see all the information. Let's go ahead and go into the form now. By highlighting the individual row, we have two types of transactions that we may be doing. One where you're buying something from a dealer, and one where you're selling outright to a personal sale of your own to somebody else. But in this case, I'm going to go to a record that already has data in it, and I'm going to say highlight it first and then hit the find record button. And in this one, it has all the data for a transaction that was done. Let's go ahead and drop the keyboard. But before I do, I want to let you know that if you're editing one of the fields that's below the keyboard area, for example, if I click in here and I want to edit this field, I can click on it and actually this will pop up. And if I click into the field itself, the keyboard will come up and then I can edit those fields. When I say OK, it will automatically update this area. Another thing that's important, and I'm going to do this by area, at the top of the screen, the 5 fields up here are the ones that are in the data grid, and those are the minimum that you need to put into a new record before you save it. When you actually create a new record, there'll be a save button down on the screen, and you will click the save button once you've established these 5 fields. You go back to the data grid and then re-enter the screen and then start editing all the information that is in this screen. Let's stop at this point and identify another area. This is the trade of your vehicle, and this is trade information that is based on these pieces of information. When you're going to trade in a vehicle, you need to have all that information before you go to the dealership or sell it privately so that you understand what your vehicle has in it and all the bad or good things about it, including you can put more narrative than shown here. You might want to put under condition. It's got, bad chrome on the back bumper or something like that. So you have a full disclosure of all the things that are about your vehicles. Now you have 1 or 2 vehicles that you can put in here. This is the 30-day payoff. You can call your lender and get the amount of your payoff. It'll either be 0 if it's paid off or the amount for 30 days that is good for until the next month when it'll change again. If you make a payment, it'll go down. If you have 1 or 2 vehicles and you add those together, this is what the calculated value would be. So if I added $1,000 in here, I would have to go up and click the recalculate button to have the yellow fields or the green or other fields calculate. That's very important to recognize. So if you go in and you change a salmon colored field and edit it, you need to go ahead and click the recalculate button in order to bring that information to full calculated value. Now, the other thing I want to show you is that if you are looking at things like this and you go to click into them, you're going to notice that you cannot put the cursor or the keyboard will not come up. That's because those fields are non-calculatable or non-entering fields. Now that showed an entry for this one for factory, and it's one odd field, and I'll tell you why. This particular one, I'm highlighting it in blue so that you realize when you're in the bargaining at the dealership with the salesperson that you make sure that you ask about factory allowance. That is different than the buyer's offer discount. The buyer's offer discount is something that you put in saying that you want this much off the vehicle that you're purchasing, and you just come up with an arbitrary number and put it in there so it'll calculate from the actual Monroney sticker value. You'd say, I want at least $1,200 off, but you also want the factory discount. So this would be a number that you would come up with as far as the value you want to have the vehicle sticker price reduced by. Now, as I explained earlier in the introduction, you can ask for anything you want. You can say, for example, you can go in and you say, I want $5,000 off this vehicle. That doesn't mean they're going to give it to you, but you can say that's what you want to do, and it'll calculate what it's going to do to the deal before you even get rolling. But before you put in the buyer's discount that you're going to offer, you want to make sure by asking if there is a factory allowance. Because if you ask for one and then ask for the other, it's going to confuse the dealer about what you're really asking for. So if they're going to take a factory discount and say in this case it was $2,000 off of this truck, it's going to automatically reduce that amount and show it over here. Then if you go back in and you say I want another $3,000, then it's going to reduce this number and this number based on the data that you've added, remembering to click the recalculate button each time to recalculate those fields. Now we've already got our trade-in, we've got our buyer's discount we're requesting, we also have the factory allowance. Now in the deal, when you get that far, you want to have that and one other thing up your sleeve, and I'm going to explain what that is. In this deal, the interest rate that was offered by the finance office in the dealership was 6.45. That is based on what was negotiated when you're doing what is called the Foursquare. Now this may be called something else, and basically you don't bring that in. That's something that the salesperson is going to have in his hand when he starts to negotiate the deal. And I want to explain, they're not going to put data in all these Foursquares for you. The first thing you need to recognize is that you do not want them to put in the interest rate. That's something that occurs when you get to the finance office. But you can, if they do offer that information and tell you that there's a arbitrary number that they're going to give you based on your credit, and what that means is they've looked at your credit statement, your credit readout, and see that you have either good or bad credit, they're going to determine what that interest rate is going to be based on that. They may not tell you until you hit the finance office after you accept the basic information for the trade-in information, but try to keep this under your hat. If you went to your bank and they took your credit and they gave you an interest rate plus a maximum amount that you could trade your vehicle and get the amount of what the bottom line would be here, and that is with the factory and your offer and the amount of the offered payoff minus the amount that's actually going to be given to you by the trade, that is what you're really starting to work with at this point, okay? So this would be the number with all these adjusted and what you're going to get for a trade-in, what they offer you for your trade-in, okay? So you can play with that and recalculate it until you can see what they're actually giving you. Going back to the Foursquare, as they're telling you what the trade-in is, you're going to want to put that information into what they're going to accept. At the purchased at, you would start out by putting the full rate of the Moroni sticker in at 35. Then you would enter the amount that they agreed to for your trade offer, and you'd also want to put the factory number in there that you're actually filling in these fields with, and then any options that you have decided that you want in addition to what was offered from the base price of the vehicle. That may be floor mats or something else or a bumper attachment or whatever. You want to put the value of whatever that options cost is. And I'll explain when we get up here what that options are. In fact, let's just go there. Vehicle options are included. When you're doing a vehicle on a Sunday and you're walking around and picking the vehicle you want to buy the following week, what you want to do is list everything on the Moroni sticker that's information as far as the package that they're offering. Now, there's a base vehicle with the size engine and the kind of transmission and the tires and all that kind of stuff. Then the next thing are options. It may be a GPS navigation system. It may be whatever. It might be a special bumper or whatever, or chrome this or chrome that. Those are the things you want to list that are on the Moroni sticker that are included in the vehicle as options on the vehicle. It's going to affect the vehicle selling price. If you add additional options that are not even listed on the Moroni sticker and are there above and beyond the items that are listed in the Moroni, then you're going to have to put that value in here. Okay, so we've established that when the buyer accepts the trade or you accept what they're going to give you, you want to put their trade in. If you're trading in a vehicle, you would go ahead and put that amount in there, and then you would go ahead and say that would be the accepted trade, and that might be whatever you enter. In this particular case, I'm just going to say cancel, and the amount's already in there, but that would have been the amount that you're putting in there. The next thing it will do is calculate, when you say recalculate, what the next payoff amount would be based on the trade. The next thing is if they require a down, or you're going to put a down that they offer you, say you need to put at least $5,000 down, you can either up that to reduce your payment on a monthly basis. And what that will do is it will take your down payment down and reduce the amount for the payoff to the amount due at the finance when you go to the finance office. Then the next two fields, and by the way, you'd have to do a recalculate based on the amount of down payment to get that number. The next thing would be the amount due at signing. Depending upon if you're going to just accept the vehicle on the same day, that would be the amount that you're paying today. And in this case, if it's $5,000 down, you would be putting the $5,000 in there. If the vehicle was going to be delivered on a different day, you could put $4,000 to hold the car and then $1,000 on delivery date. The next thing you're going to be putting in here is the loan company that you're going to be financing through. And in this case, you're going to go ahead and type it in. You don't see the actual field until you look back at it again, and you put in the bank or loan company that's going to offer the deal. Now, when you go into the finance office, most of the information from here down is what you're going to see in the finance office. Based on the amount of interest that you're going to be charged, that will affect the actual amount of interest that you're going to be paying over time. So that's one of the things you're going to be concerned about. This is where you want to go back in and you want to put the interest rate in that your goal. In other words, your bank either gave you, say a 6% or a 7% or whatever based on your credit statement. So you would put that in there that you want. If you go into the finance office and they offer 645, you may want to use your bank to finance this. So that would be a deal stopper until you go to your bank or call your bank and say, I have a car I want to purchase, and let their finance guy work out with the bank as far as what you're going to get on the deal, and he'll write the paperwork up for you to take to the bank and for them to okay. The other one is the monthly payment. Now we're getting into that part of the fields down here with the monthly payment. You could be pre-approved, and you want to know at your bank, if you went to the bank or loan company and they gave you a certain amount that you're good for based on the value that you're going to be financing, okay? And in this case, with all the little extras, it's going to be $30,920. But you would want to have a figure in there, say like 32 or 40,000 or whatever it might be, and they would tell you at that time what your monthly payment would be based on 60 months or 72 or 48 or whatever you want. You would enter that number of months, the interest rate that you would want to have by putting in the interest rate, and then go ahead and put in, it would automatically, when you recalculate, would recalculate with the monthly, or this is what you want for a monthly payment, or what the finance offers as the monthly payment, which they calculate, and then it would recalculate the total amount of interest you're going to pay, and then the actual total amount of the loan at the end of the period that you would pay for it. So in this case, there would be $2,080 based on the sample numbers that I just threw in here, based on your down payment and your trade. And that way you would have the information right in front of you as you're doing the deal. Now this is not, college math. You basically, if you put numbers in and recalculate, you're going to see all the numbers calculated for you. So you shouldn't have any issues. And you understand what the Foursquare is going to do. And if you need additional information as far as how the Foursquare works or these numbers work, you can always contact me for an extended description of what those fields do. Now, the tax is the sales tax that the finance office is going to give you, and that's a flat rate based on the vehicle selling price. The cost of the plates, the cost of the dock fees. What are the dock fees? The dock fees are what you pay for them to do the documentation and registration of your vehicle and hanging the plate on the vehicle. They will probably give you a temporary plate when you leave, and then there's going to be a plate that will come out later on to you in the mail on a new vehicle, okay? What is this? The options. Oh, let's look in that and see and figure out what that is. In the finance office, when you go to there, they call this booting up the deal. Basically, what he's going to do is try to add additional things to the deal. Now you can see that these are things you can't offer any other numbers. He's going to give you those in the finance office. You enter them in here and you're going to see what your loan amount is going to be. But you can accept additional things. Say, for example, he wants to give you upholstery sealer or paint sealer, which, by the way, in most cases is already in the vehicle. But say there's something that you want to get, you would have to enter that amount in here, then describe what that is down here in this field so you don't forget and you make sure that it's properly annotated in the deal. The other thing, or when you're actually receiving the vehicle, you want to make sure that you write down everything about the vehicle you're purchasing when it's delivered to you to make sure that there's nothing that's missing, and if it is missing, annotate it up here, or if you see scratches on the vehicle or something about it, say the vehicle was delivered to you and it wasn't totally clean and you couldn't see if it was scratched or not, you want to make sure that you have that in here so that when you come back and have a problem, that you can have that as a record of what happened to you. Okay. Down here, this is basically the term of the loan that you're going to accept, the amount that has to be financed based on all the information from above. It'll calculate that when you hit the recalculate button and have your interest rate in there. And then these will be calculated based on the payment and the interest rate that you put in here. I think I've covered it, but I'll go back one more time to indicate here that if you're going to add a picture of the vehicle, you're going to be adding it from your library, photo library on your iPad. And you can add stuff to that library by taking a picture or adding a picture to your library by email and bringing it into your application on your iPad. Okay. If you have any additional questions or help that you need, you can contact me by clicking on the support button that's on the main screen, and it'll take you to the support site where you can ask for help, or you can contact me by email. Thank you.